I'm liking these little brother moments between Marvin and Lou, where their relationship doesn't seem to have the same tension that it did in the first season, right? I think largely because they're communicating directly with each other, and RAQ isn't in between, kind of instigating the drama between them as well, right? Because she never really pitted them against each other in the first season. You saw more of that in like the second season. But these little conversations that they've been having between themselves, you know, kind of really encouraging each other to do like the right things, right? Like we see Marvin offering Lou support and encouraging him with, you know, this bar and this music stuff that he has going on. We then see here that Lou is encouraging Marvin, you know, to, although he's making some mistakes and not getting everything perfect, to continue making the effort to try to be a good father to Jukebox, you know, to be a better father to Jukebox. And it's like, it's a nice change to see, right? And it's kind of ironic that at the very time that these two are becoming closer and developing a healthier relationship, it's kind of juxtaposed with Unique and Ronnie's relationship falling apart and going completely off the rails, right? And it's like, I've mentioned it before, this thing of them dropping little breadcrumbs about the dysfunction that the Thomas siblings grew up in, right? Like we learned from the first season that their parents were on drugs when they were growing up. And from a very early age, Marvin started hustling and took on responsibility for his younger brother and sister, right? And they've let drop like these little nuggets along the way that something happened to the father, right? We learned earlier this season that the father actually died. But, you know, we've met the mom now on 2 occasions and have heard about her outside of that. The mom seems like a piece of work. But we haven't got like the full story as yet. And, you know, RAQ is like really the one that more directly alluded to it during her conversation with her mom during the first season, that the things that they saw and experienced and the examples that were set for them by their parents is not really like fully responsible for, but has certainly played a role in them becoming the people that they are today, you know. And we see Marvin and Lou kind of moving away from some of that dysfunction, not like doing a perfect job of it, but making an effort. Meanwhile, RAQ still seems to be kind of wallowing in it, right? As we see the conversation between her and Kanan, where after Kanan finds out about her putting the gun in his bag, you know, he goes to talk to her about it, to confront her about it. And honestly, I was kind of surprised by, although they were like talking about it and he seemed upset, that he didn't have like nearly the outsized reaction that I thought he might have. You know, because like that's an absolute violation what RAQ did. You know, and it's so, and maybe part of it could be that, you know, the scene was tempered by this social worker lady showing up right at that moment. And, you know, Kanan having to kind of tone things down. Again, there's this thing of them, of RAQ at least, not having the conversations with Kanan that she probably should, right? Like, I want to see, like, the full explanation, like, her telling him the full story of what all happened, then gives us as the audience more backstory on what took place between her and Howard and DEF CON and all this kind of stuff and whatnot. Because there's a lot of questions there that need to be answered about RAQ's past. It sounds increasingly shady. And her having that conversation with Kanan would answer a lot of questions for us as the audience. But yet again here, she doesn't really go into fully explaining things to him. But rather in this situation, as she's done in the past, is that she tells him that she did this thing for him. You know, she does these things because she loves him. And it's like, that's incredibly dysfunctional, you know, and you see that he recognizes it as such, right? Because he kind of calls her out on it. But I'm really looking forward to Kanan and RAQ finally having that sit-down conversation and her hopefully explaining herself and what exactly happened, because it would tie together so many other things that we've seen occur in the show. You know, it'll give some explanation as to, well, what exactly happened to DEF CON? And did she play a role in what happened to High Post as well? You know, like her telling Kanan the full story about the circumstances of his conception and birth, because it's so tied into the street stuff, should offer some explanation for what happened back then on the street and her getting into this life as well. You know, so that's a conversation that I'm looking forward to, you know, when and if it ever does happen. Moving on to Jukebox, I think the transformation of her relationship with Marvin is amazing, for lack of a better term, given where things ended at the end of the first season to where it is now, where, you know, he's really making an effort to be a dad to her, and you see him really encouraging her, and in some ways like being kind of like a stage dad and overstepping and whatnot, but they seem to be in a better place, right? But at the same time, like I stated, this manager lady, I just get like not so good vibes about her. The group, I think, like, you know, they have like a nice little look coming together, the music and stuff like that. But, you know, it's refreshing in a way to see, like, you know, Jukebox be kind of embarrassed by Marvin, as it is something that kids feel, a way that a lot of teenage kids feel towards their parents at that point, where it's like, you know, your parents just, their very existence or showing up at stuff that you have going on is kind of embarrassing. So it's kind of cute to see the exchange here, but I'm curious to see where things go from here, right? Like, I feel with Jukebox, what we're seeing right now is like a lull in the problems of her life, right? I think right now this is like a false sense of calm that's setting us up for heartbreak, you know? And I'm just like really enjoying how things are progressing. I'm really enjoying how things are progressing and the development of the characters. Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, go ahead and click the thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.